The classic Chipotle bowl from my beloved fast food restaurant, only much cheaper and more macro friendly. My version is a leaner, more protein rich copycat of the Chipotle steak bowl thanks to one very special ingredient: pork tenderloin. Not to be confused with pork loin. 2 pounds, or roughly 1 kilogram of this stuff, costs around $12 where I live, but it's often on sale for half that price. For comparison, the average cost of top sirloin is $8 per pound on the cheaper end. The true wonder of pork tenderloin, however, is its leanness. It has a minuscule amount of fat per 4-ounce serving, roughly 3 grams, while packing almost 20 grams of protein per said serving. With about the same macros as chicken breast and a steak-like flavor, only more tender, pork tenderloin was a clear winner for my Chipotle copycat recipe. Both tenderloins will be used here. This lean cut of meat needs a salty marinade or brine to make it irresistibly tender and juicy. To make a copycat Chipotle steak marinade, I add 3 or 4 cloves of garlic to a blender, 1 tablespoon or 14 grams each of apple cider vinegar and tomato paste. Follow that with 1 tablespoon or 15 grams of olive oil. And now for some spices, the exact amounts of which can be found in the description below. Cumin, oregano, garlic powder, salt, black pepper, and the most important of the spices here, ancho chili powder, 2 tablespoons or 12 grams. With just regular chili powder, the marinade would be missing a depth of rich smokiness that only ancho chilies can offer. Paprika, smoked, preferably, though I never seem to have it, and the optional touch of cayenne. At the moment, this marinade is rather dry, so I'm adding a little water to it. About 1/4 of a cup to start, and blend. Too thick. Another 1/4 cup should do the trick. I'm just shaking the container a bit to suspend all the goodies inside. Looks good. Nice and loose and not runny. Tastes spot on too, tangy and salty. I add that to the tenderloins, and before I get too far with incorporating it with a spatula, I realize that hands do a better job at incorporating the thick goop. My aim here is to have every bit of surface area of the meat in contact with the marinade. Cover and I let that do its thing anywhere from 30 minutes to overnight in the fridge. In the meantime, I'll prep the add-ons. Red onion. Sure, you could use white or yellow, but I want to keep this ingredient true to the Chipotle way. 1 is all I need. I cut off the top end, split in half through the roots. I'll use 1/2 of this onion for the fajita veggies. The other will go into the salsas. For the fajita veggies, I remove the root and julienne the rest. Set those aside. Sure, 1 onion may not seem like enough for the 6 Chipotle bowls I'm making, but this is a big boy and I don't much care for copious amounts of onion in my meals. To further reduce any harsh onioniness, I like to rinse the onions that I diced. This effectively reduces the concentration of the pungent oniony sulfur compounds on the surface of the onions. Like I said, not a big fan of a lot of onion, but you do you. Part 2 of the fajita veg is bell pepper. Going with green this time, 2 that is. Slice in half and rip out the stem portion. I find that sometimes the most barbaric methods are the quickest. Julienne those. Cilantro. A whole bunch of it. Literally. I managed to spread this out across the whole meal. Almost every component of this dish has this stuff in it. If you don't like it, don't use it. Rough chop that. Here I'm separating out about half of the cilantro to save for the rice. About 1/4 of it each goes to 2 separate containers for the 2 different salsas. Also, half of the diced onion goes in one, half in the other. Thanks to technical difficulties, you'll have to imagine me dicing 2 jalapeno peppers, 1 per salsa bowl. Corn. Frozen or fresh is fine. I just decided to go for the canned stuff. No added junk, of course. I'll add 2 cans to one of the salsa bowls and realize that I need a bigger container. There we go. Give that a good mix. Now to make this stuff really pop, salt, about 3/4 to 1 teaspoon, or roughly 7 to 8 grams, and about 1 tablespoon each of lime and lemon juice. Adjust the taste later if need be. A little sprinkle of cumin and chili powder, about 1/4 teaspoon each, helps to further elevate this corn salsa, but it's not necessary. Also not necessary, but to help sweeten this unsweetened corn a bit, I like to add about 1/2 teaspoon of honey, what looks to be about 7 or 8 grams. Mix that up well, and I have a copycat Chipotle corn salsa that is seriously addicting. Pico de gallo, the lazy way. Sure, you could use fresh tomatoes for this. Between 4 and 5 Roma tomatoes if you go that route. I've tried this both ways and I hardly notice a difference. If you're skeptical, however, watch until the end. There will be a blind taste test. Same amount of salt as for the corn. I'm just eyeballing it really, but believe me, you need more than you might think. This is a sauce after all, and sauces are meant to be slightly too salty to eat on their own. 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Mix, mix, mix. Tastes good, just a bit more salt for me. Since I'm marinating the pork overnight, I like to save on prep time the following day by making the sauces ahead of time and stowing them away in the fridge with the meat. It's been about 20 hours or so and the pork tendies are looking like they could use a little warmth. I preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 204 C, and in the meantime start on the rice. Long grain brown rice, that is. Use whatever rice you'd like, along with whatever cooking method you have. I prefer this no-fuss Instant Pot method that yields perfect rice every time. If you got an Instant Pot, great. If not, just use your stovetop. General instructions in the description below. For 6 Chipotle bowls, I'll need roughly 2¼ cups or 405 grams of uncooked rice. Here's a trick for you. I'll wash this batch a few times in the sink. If you don't already know, doing this gets rid of surface level starch on the grains, yielding an end product that is lighter and fluffier. I once skipped this step and my rice was more like porridge in the end. Not fun. I'll measure out about 1¾ cups of water, roughly 590 grams, and add that to the rice, being sure to submerge all the grains. Looks good. Toss it in the machine and pressure cook on high for 22 minutes. Back to the meat. I'll set a cast iron pan on high heat. I'll be trying to get a good sear on the tenderloin, so I want this to be ripping hot. Once I just start to see smoke, I drizzle in a bit of oil and press the tendies into the pan. The sear these develop will help with quickly cooking the meat and seal in moisture, both important for having tender tenderloins. About 30 seconds per side per cut of meat, and I transfer to a glass baking dish. Back to the pan, I'm deglazing with about ½ cup of water, and I'll add what's left of the marinade in and mix it about before pouring this into the baking dish with the meat. Spread that around and I'll just add a bit more water to thin things out, about ½ cup. This stuff will steam up in the oven, helping to keep the lean cuts of meat moist through the cooking process. Effectively, what I'm doing here is braising the meat, only rather quickly. Into the oven, covered for 20 minutes. To my still hot pan, I'm adding a bit more olive oil. At medium-high heat, I add the fajita veggies I cut up the night before. The marinade left in the pan will help to flavor these a bit, but I need more. Salt, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, paprika, more of that ancho chili powder, and cumin, all to taste. Mix that around. Add a bit of water to prevent any burning at this point. Hydrating the spices like this also helps to combat any of the grainy texture you get from raw spice stuck to the veg. In time, this will steam and cook down. Those are about done. They'll soften up a bit more as they cool, so I'll just adjust the seasoning to taste and remove while they still have a bit of bite. Look at all that good fond. To the pan, I'll add 2 cans of pinto beans, bean juice and all. You could use black, this is just what I prefer. I'm scraping at the brown bits in the pan to deglaze it. Adding some salt to taste, as well as some ancho chili powder, onion and garlic powder, and black pepper. Checking on these periodically, I will let these soften and the sauce they're in thicken. I can't stand when the beans at Chipotle are tough and nearly indigestible, so I'm doing it my way. The rice is finished pressure cooking. I'll let the pressure naturally release for 10 minutes and go back to the now boiling beans. Turn the heat down to medium-low and let them simmer. Check on the meat now because the 20 minutes is up. My goal is to pull the meat just when it reaches an internal temperature of 145 F, about 63 C. This ensures that the meat is fully cooked but not overcooked and dry. A few more minutes and covered now should do the trick. In the meantime, I'll cut up some lettuce. Chipotle uses romaine. I would too, only it's far more expensive than this green leaf lettuce. Use whatever you'd like. It's all the same. The beans are looking good, a little too thick now, so I'm adding a bit of water to thin them out before pulling the meat. Gorgeous color. Transfer those to a cutting board to rest for about 5 minutes. Cutting into them now would allow too much moisture to escape in the form of steam, causing the tenderloins to dry out. I pour what's left of the juices from the pan into a large bowl. There's no way I'm wasting all that flavor. It's time now to fully release the pressure on the rice and fluff. Perfectly cooked brown rice in about 30 minutes. Last check on the beans. I'll add a touch of lime juice and a dash more salt. So rich and savory. These are done. By now, the meat should have rested long enough to cut. First lengthwise and then across into cubes. I'll add those cubes to the sauce I saved earlier. Do the same with the other tendi. Talk about juicy. I like to add a bit of cilantro to the meat for the color. Otherwise, a touch of lime and salt is all this needs. Nice. Now to finish the rice. Salt, about 1½ teaspoons or 9 grams, or slightly less. A teaspoon of olive oil, butter works fine too, and about 2 tablespoons of lime juice. In goes the rest of the cilantro and give that a good stir. Copycat Chipotle brown rice. The only thing left is to mash up some avocado for the guac, 2 medium here, 1/4 teaspoon salt, about 2 grams, and out of resourcefulness I add a spoonful of the pico de gallo for the acid, onion, and cilantro, chunky guac. Usually I don't even bother making guac for this and just use a quarter of an avocado for each bowl as needed. And now I've got quite the spread of Chipotle bowl ingredients. Total cost, $21.12, which equates to $3.52 per bowl, for a total of 6 bowls. That's 6 for the price of 2 steak bowls from Chipotle. My go-to Chipotle bowl is brown rice, pinto beans, meat of choice, fajita veggies, corn salsa, pico, cheese, lettuce, and guac. A meal fit for a king. And that's exactly what I ordered at Chipotle today. What's up?
What's up?
My brother here, Joseph, went out and got this steak bowl from Chipotle. And here I have my pork tenderloin Chipotle bowl copycat.
Let's do it.
Go and open that.
Appearances, I'd say they look pretty similar. The corn is a lot brighter on this one. Other than that, not really any distinct differences. The cheese looks the same.
Let's see how it compares in taste. Want to blindfold yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Go with the first one here. Big open.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Start off with like the flavor punch just smacks you all at once. The meat is really juicy, it's really tender. I can taste the corn, the cilantro, all the fresh vegetables in there. Yeah.
Does it taste like Chipotle?
Mm-hmm. This tastes dead on like Chipotle. I honestly really hope this is the Chipotle one because, wow. The rice and beans taste so genuine to that true Chipotle taste that you get and you look for.
Okay, here's the next one.
It's a tough one. One thing I'm getting right now, the meat. This one was definitely a lot tougher than the other one. The flavors culminated very well with that one as well. That's still really good. It still has that full Chipotle taste.
And which one do you think is Chipotle's?
I think it's the second one.
You think the second one is?
Yeah.
Take off your blindfold. That's the first one you ate, and that's the second one.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. I'm telling you right now, that tasted, if not like Chipotle, like more Chipotle than Chipotle. I honestly don't know how else to say it. That was phenomenal. I'll pick this every day.
Yeah?
That's bomb. That was scary good.
I used canned tomatoes in this. Did you even notice it was canned?
No.
You didn't even notice it was canned.
And I'm telling you, it's honestly better. It's actually better. That's crazy. I really didn't think I would come into this and end up saying yours is better. I honestly thought I was going to let him down. That's good. Holy shit. Cut. That's killer. Honestly, bro, like, I took a bite of that, and then I took a bite of that, and I was like, it was nowhere near as good. Like, that's crazy. That's just better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's so good.